if you're skeptical, but then you saw Donna Kay, Facebook, or you saw ADHD Thrive method, and it's a good sign. Take it as a good sign, because this is help that's the universe is sending to you.
Aww.
Because that's how we took it, and I wish I delved into it right away.
Welcome to the Soaring Child podcast, where parents of children with ADHD learn tips and tricks to help their child soar at home, at school, and in life. We feature interviews with experts, medical professionals, and parents just like you who are learning how to reduce ADHD symptoms using food and other natural strategies. Because children with ADHD deserve to soar just like every other child. I'm Donna Kay, your host. Hello, parents. This is Donna Kay here with another edition of the Soaring Child podcast. We have a really, really special episode today, and I think it's going to really touch your heart. I think it's going to inspire you. I just want to take you back to when I was going through this with my son all those years ago. I remember feeling like I was on an island on my own, that I was the only one that was going through these issues. And it was a really, really lonely place to be. I was trying to navigate this emotional roller coaster that I was going through with my son, and not knowing who to trust or where to turn or whose advice to follow. And so we haven't really done this on the podcast before, but I wanted to really bring in some stories that are going to inspire you as listeners, to make you feel like you are not on this journey alone. Now, joining us today is a remarkable mum who has been on the front lines advocating and adapting for her child with ADHD. And we're going to delve into the challenges, the triumphs, the lessons learned along the way. It's stories like this, that reminds us of the strength, the resilience that's embedded in every family's journey with ADHD. So whether you're a parent seeking guidance, or even a teacher looking for insight, or just someone who really cares about our children's well-being, this episode's for you. So I want to welcome my guest, Marianne, to the Soaring Child podcast today. Hi, Marianne. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Dana. Thank you so much. That's beautiful to hear.
Oh, well,
Hi, I'm
So Marianne is a gorgeous mum of a boy with ADHD. Marianne, why don't you just share with listeners a little bit about your journey that you've gone through with your child with ADHD? Back then, what challenges were you facing?
Hi. So my son is Adam. I have two boys. The other one is Dylan. He is 5 years old. But let's focus on Adam, because Adam, when he was born, he is this happy boy, energetic, always, talking and like full of energy, full of ideas. I've suspected something about him, his hyperness, his energy, that maybe there's something, I didn't know. I didn't really know about ADHD during that time. But no, who do I compare it to? He was our firstborn, we didn't know. I just know that he is happy.
And that's the same with me. My son was the firstborn. I've got two boys as well. And, I didn't have anything to compare it to. I was the same. I was like, is this normal? Is this something different? Is there something different about him? So I totally understand that feeling that you're going through.
Yeah. So, he went to preschool. Everything was okay. We didn't hear anything. And then he went kindergarten. He went to kindergarten. He was 6 years old at the time. Settings is they have to sit still. They have to sit on the table, paperwork. That's when we started hearing from the teacher, hey, Adam is a bright boy. Academically, he's awesome. But he couldn't sit still. He couldn't focus. He is easily distracted. We started hearing this. Oh, Okay, maybe he was tired. Oh, yeah, I know. Last night he couldn't sleep well, which is true. Adam always struggled with sleeping. He can sleep all night, but the problem is he fidget while he was asleep. The pillow will be fall out of the bed. They're all on the floor because he will be tumbling, all around the bed. So I know he's restless. So that's what I say. Oh yeah, no. Okay, we'll adjust his bedtime. We adjusted his bedtime 1 hour, 30 hours. I mean, like 1 hour, 30 minutes, early. But then we still continue to hear from the teacher.
Mm.
And then until we didn't hear anymore. And I was like, oh, great, it's working. But then one time we heard from the teacher and she said, oh, Adam wrote a note. And I was like, okay, what is the note? And he said that I'm the worst kid.
Aww.
And he was 6 years old. So he spelled worst like WRST,
Yeah.
Oh, but you get it,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm the worst kid. And then the teacher said when they talked to him about it, he like covered his face. He was embarrassed. And then he hid his face on the table and he started crying.
Oh.
And that broke my heart,
Oh, that would totally break my heart to know that your child has written that. And so did you talk to him at home about that?
Yes, I did. So when he came home, I was very careful not to like hurt him even more. So I was, hey, how are you doing? Right. And then so when I found a way to ask him, your teacher told me that you wrote a note. And, he was like looking at me and I was like, yeah, so why did you write that? And he burst out crying. He couldn't talk. He just burst out crying. That cry, it made me feel that something is really going on inside him. It made me cry. But yet I want to know why. And so what he told me is what really moved me. He said, oh, I'm trying. I wanted to follow what everybody was asking me to do. They want me to sit still. I really want to do it. But the thing is, I don't know how. He said he couldn't do it, even though he wanted to. So that's why he said, I'm the worst kid. Like he was saying that to me while crying. So I don't know what to say. I just hugged him and we cried together. And I told him I understand. And I told him, you're not the worst kid. That's when I knew that beyond what the teacher was telling me, that, hey, he couldn't sit still. Something is that I need to figure out, something going on that beyond what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like, he was suffering with some focus issues, unable to sit still, sounds very similar to my child. And so then did you go and seek a diagnosis and he was diagnosed with ADHD?
Yes. So the teacher wasn't able to really say the word,
Yes.
I'm trying to pull it out. I was suspecting maybe he has ADHD, maybe he has sensory processing disorder. I wasn't sure. When you read this over online, there's so many mixed emotions, mixed feelings about it. The teacher couldn't really say it, but I can hear and sense that she's leaning towards that. And then she said, we don't diagnose, but tell, his pediatrician, talk about it. And we could sign a form. So to make it short, we did. They did the form, and we did the form. We fill it out, and we kind of like talk about the symptoms and all that. So we gave it to the doctor, and then the doctor referred us to specialists where they can evaluate Adam. So they did an evaluation, and the evaluation went well because Adam was doing this. This happened during pandemic.
Yeah,
so
it makes it extra hard.
Yeah, we didn't go to the clinic. We were at home. We were doing the Zoom evaluation with the doctor, and everything was just really computer, like math, reading and abstract. And Adam did well on those. And then so in the end, the evaluation is telling me that, oh, if I will base it solely on, on this evaluation, Adam don't have ADHD and he should be superstar at school with this result. So, okay, I was kind of confused. And then she said, but based on the report of the teachers in my report, it shows the percentage that Adam might have a moderate ADHD. So in short, she was saying, I'm going to give you a medication for Adam to help him calm down when he goes to school. So I was kind of confused, huh? But you said it was a maybe, but how come you are, recommending a medication? And then she said, well, in case, he needed to calm down. And like, it's even made me worry that, okay, so just for school. So I said, how's the medicine work? So then the doctor said, the medicine work as you take it. Once you stop, he'll go back to, So then I expressed to the doctor that, okay, I don't think he needs it. And then she agreed, yeah, he doesn't need it. And so then I said that I'm just going to go to more natural alternatives,
which is what led you to start working with me, which is great. Did you feel sort of how did you feel when you got that diagnosis from them? Was it relieving? Was it confusing?
It's both. I wanted the doctor to tell me right away he has ADHD.
Yeah.
So, but then no, and then it wasn't helping when Adam actually did well on the evaluation.
Yeah,
he did 96 in abstract thinking, 96% abstract thinking, and then So, but then when she said maybe he has ADHD, and see me after the pandemic, when I could see him in person.
Yeah,
so she said, I didn't see his level of fidgeting. I wasn't sure if he is, like his focus. I couldn't see that. I couldn't tell that. That's what she said. So then I said, well, one thing I know, Adam is good in focusing one-on-one. If he is in the middle of the crowd, like in a class setting, he hears a lot of noise. He hears a lot of people doing things. He easily gets distracted.
Yeah. And I think this raises a good point that, ADHD is not sort of this straight line. My son, when he was diagnosed, if he had been diagnosed on Zoom, he probably would have got exactly the same response from the doctor as you got, because he is very, very smart. He was in the top 99% in math, the top 98% in reading, exactly the same as you. But when he actually went to the valuation, he was jumping up and down on the couch. He was around the table on the chair. But if he was sitting on Zoom doing a test, he would have got the same. So it's really interesting. So, I'm bringing up this story, and, I wanted Marianne to share this story today that, an ADHD journey or an ADHD diagnosis doesn't necessarily look the same for everyone. Now, reflecting on your journey, Marianne, why did you decide to go down the natural route rather than the medication route? What was going on in your mind when that came up?
So before we even started the evaluation, when the doctor started talking about, not the doctor, the teacher started talking about he couldn't sit still and that, I was already started like doing my research about ADHD. At first, I suspected that Adam has sensory processing disorder because of, like he couldn't focus when it's crowded. Let's say we would have a gathering, like we're seeing friends or family gathering. That's when I see he showing like anxiety, or he's like hyper and all that stuff. So then I was already aware about the ADHD. And then I've also read a lot of articles about the diet, how it changed, how it helps. But for me, how's that? Like, how's the diet? It doesn't make sense to me until like, Facebook, there's a lot of groups in Facebook. And there you go. I went family struggling, I look it up, and then I found ADHD Facebook groups.
Yes.
And then one of the group led me to you. And because they're talking about, Dana Kay, she talks about like supplements and gluten-free dietary change and reduce the symptoms. And I was like, okay, went jump into that right away. Look for you and then, copied it and then followed it. And then another parent talks about in the Dana Kay Facebook group, one of the parents mentioned about the book Finally Focused, right? So here me being in the Facebook group already like having this knowledge about supplements, gluten-free, dairy-free stuff. Then now this book, I read it. Oh, wait, this book talks about what Dana Kay was talking about. So for me, bam, I closed the book, I finished the book, and you did like a free video to talk about what supplements can help, I joined that free video that you did. That's it. I was like, this is it. This is a sign. So I watched that video, and then during the time, I don't know if you remember, I think 2020, when there's an ADHD summit,
Mm-hmm.
you were part of it. I joined that summit. I wanted to learn more about it. I wanted to understand, because I was already feeling like a high percentage that I'm going to do it.
Yes.
But I need to present it to my husband.
Yes. And that's always a challenge. So, it sounds like you went on this little journey and then, you got the information and really learned that ADHD symptoms can be reduced naturally. Can you sort of, looking back on that journey, what changes have you observed in your child since implementing natural strategies?
Huge. A lot of changes. At first, before I joined the program, the ADHD, Thrive program, I tested it first on Adam. I cut down just gluten-free for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And during the time he was doing like a Zoom class, it was March and they shut down the school. So he was at home. I witnessed how he couldn't sit still. I witnessed him like moving around during the class. And then, so I was like, okay, I'm going to cut down the gluten-free. I did. He was gluten-free for 2 weeks. And he was sitting on the, listening to his Zoom class. And the first thing that I noticed that I was shocked is his handwriting.
Yeah.
Handwriting improved so much and he's asleep. And I was like, what? It's like magic. And
yeah.
I really believed it,
Yeah, no, and it's so true because that's similar to what happened with my son. I think, once we removed out the foods that were really inflaming his body just calmed down. He was able to sit. He was able to focus better. And it's amazing. For some kids, it does take 2 weeks. For some kids, it's a longer journey. And I know that, with Adam and your child, that it's got better and better as you go through. I just wanted to ask you, and share with the listeners today, what sort of advice would you give to families who are really starting their journey sort of with those natural strategies for ADHD? Because I can give all the advice in the world, but obviously this is what I do for a living. And so I really want them to hear from another mom, some of that more practical advice.
So when I first started, I was skeptical. I was nervous. I wasn't sure if I'm doing, the right choice. I have to convince my husband to be on board with me.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is gonna fail, you know what's gonna happen, right? So I want it to be really something that I'm 100% good, sure about it. But when we started, one thing I did that helped us is I told my husband everything because he needs to help me. We need to do this together. And then the second thing is we didn't tell anything to Adam yet because he was 6 years old, 7 years old during that time. And he was he wasn't able to really like comprehend all of that. If I'm gonna say, hey Adam, you cannot eat this, you cannot pizza anymore, you cannot have this, he's not gonna help. He's gonna refuse. So that I did not tell everything to him. I did not shock him with the sad news. We did it first without him knowing. So the first number one thing that I did is I focus on the food that he can eat.
Yes.
I did not focus on the food that he cannot eat.
Yes. And that's a really good piece of advice. Let's focus on what they can eat rather than what they can't eat. And I think that we worry so much about what they can't eat, but don't focus on all the goodness. And I love that piece of advice. And I also, what I'm hearing is that you were really just taking it slow and really taking Adam on the journey with you, because if you dumped all of this on day one for a 6 or a 7-year-old, it's a lot to take in. So I think that that's a really amazing piece of advice for just dipping your toe in the water, taking your child slowly through that journey, and focusing on what you can eat rather than what you can't. Now, I'm curious, what does Dad think about these natural strategies now that Adam's thriving?
Oh, now he is our cook. He is our chef now. He's the one that he's more stricter than me now. Wait,
wow,
Adam can eat that. Adam can. Then I was like, I should be okay today. And then he would just look at me without saying anything. And I was like, you're right. Not gonna do that.
So I think the takeaway from this is, there are a lot of husbands out there, and I'm sorry to put to say this. There's probably husbands listening. Some husbands are fully on board from day one, but others, they just need to start to see some of the changes. And when they do, they dive head first in. Good on Dad for being the chef. Now, for parents feeling sort of hesitant or skeptical about natural approaches to managing ADHD, what would you like to tell them?
If you're skeptical, but then you saw Donna Kay, Facebook, or you saw ADHD Thrive method, and it's a good sign. Take it as a good sign, because this is help that's the universe is sending to you.
Aww.
Because that's how we took it, and I wish I dealt into it right away, but. It's not a regret. It's just that, I wish that I jump into it, because then now we could even more better. We could feel more better. But no, if you're skeptical, try it. There's nothing to lose about it. It's an investment in your child. It's an investment in their body. They will feel better. Number one, they will feel better, and they're going to tell you. You will not tell them, do you feel better? They will tell you. I remember when we were in the middle of the protocol, and we have a 6 months protocol. We were in the middle of it. And I've already noticed Adam sleeping well. He's calm. He's just a different person. Not like I lost my child. No, he's actually back, And then I asked him a question. I wanted to know what's in his mind, because he was already 7 years old at that time. And I said, Adam, how do you feel? And he stopped, he paused and looked at me, and he said, oh, my brain, it used to feel like a grocery store with 10,000 people shopping in it. But now, he said, my brain feels like just 10 people shopping in it. And then he said, does that make sense?
Gosh. Oh my gosh, what an amazing way for a child to explain. And, they just say it how it is, but that explanation says it all, doesn't it? And
yes,
kids struggling with ADHD, I haven't actually heard anyone else use that analogy. And wow, how smart of him to be able to put it that way. But kids that are struggling with ADHD probably feel like there's 10,000 people shopping in that grocery shop, whereas, he's now only got 10 people in there, which is normal, which is amazing. Oh my gosh, I think that's an amazing way to wrap up today's conversation. I just want to, extend my deepest gratitude to you, Marianne, for sharing your journey and your insights with us. These stories, they really sort of illuminate the path for so many families out there navigating those complexities of ADHD. This podcast is really about that power in community, that power in support. The natural strategies, can make that significant difference in our lives of our children with ADHD. And Marianne, you've just shared all of that with our listeners today. We hope really for listeners that this episode has not only provided you with understanding and empathy, but also those strategies and that hope for the road in the future, and making it feel like you are not on an island on your own. You're not alone in this journey, and together we can help our children soar. Thank you, Marianne, for joining me today and sharing your journey.
Thank you so much, Dana. And I want to appreciate you for creating the community that you created, to help us, to help our children, the parents who's struggling. And you really made us feel like it's not the end of the world. We don't need to suffer. Our children, they can be better. And like we always say to each other, this is you. One day Adam asked me, I wish I'm normal. And I said, what do you mean? I wish I don't have ADHD. I wish I'm just normal. And I told him, I wish you don't have ADHD, but you are normal. He was born with this, and this is normal for him. If he is different from that, then I told him that you're not normal. You are normal. And I want people to hear that treat your children that they are normal, so they feel they're normal. Yeah. Thank you so much, Annika.
You are so welcome. Thank you once again for joining me today. Listeners, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of The Soaring Child. I'm Dana Kate, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving. Thank you for listening to the Soaring Child podcast today. To learn more about how to help your child with ADHD soar using natural strategies, visit our website at adhdthriveinstitute.com and follow us on social media at ADHD Thrive Institute.